What if an entire village vanished? Not over years, not after a disaster, but silently, without a sound, without a trace, without a goodbye? No bodies, no warning, no explanation, only emptiness frozen in time. In the frozen heart of North America, far from highways, cities, and cell towers, there's a story that refuses to settle, a story that has been argued, dismissed, defended, and revived for nearly a century. It is known simply as the vanishing of Lake Anjikuni. The account begins in the early 20th century, during a time when the northern wilderness was still poorly mapped and rarely visited. Trappers, traders, and explorers moved through this landscape slowly, relying on memory more than maps. One of them was a man traveling alone through deep winter, following a familiar route toward a small Inuit settlement near Lake Anjikuni. According to reports, this was not an unfamiliar place. The settlement had existed for years. Hunters were known to camp there. Fires burned there. Dogs barked there. Life, though harsh, followed a rhythm shaped by ice and survival. But on this journey, something was wrong. As the traveler approached the village, there was no smoke rising into the air, no movement, no sound. He called out. There was no response. When he entered the settlement, he found food stored but untouched. Tools were left behind. Cooking pots were still in place. And yet, every person was gone. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of violence, no clear trail leading away from the camp. Even more unsettling, the sled dogs, essential for survival in this region, were reportedly found dead, starved, still tied near the village. If the people had left voluntarily, why abandon the very animals that made escape possible? The cold did not answer. The land did not explain itself. Word of the discovery spread south, carried by radio reports and newspaper headlines. Authorities were notified. Investigators eventually visited the area. But the isolation of the region, combined with extreme weather, made verification difficult. Details varied from report to report. Some claimed graves nearby had been disturbed. Others denied this entirely. Some said the settlement had never existed in the way it was described. And that is where the mystery deepens. Over time, critics began to question the original story. Official records were thin. Population counts did not always match the dramatic claims. Skeptics argued that the settlement may have been seasonal, that families could have moved for food, weather, or trade. In the north, migration was not unusual. But supporters of the mystery pushed back. They pointed out the small details, the abandoned tools, the uneaten food, the reports of dead animals. They argued that even a seasonal move would leave signs, tracks, explanations. And yet, none were clearly documented. Then there were the theories. Some suggested environmental causes, sudden ice shifts, unstable weather, a perceived threat that forced a rapid evacuation. Others proposed fear, rumors of strange lights in the sky, unfamiliar sounds across the frozen lake, or encounters that could not be explained using the language of time. A few theories went further, into the realm of the extraordinary, magnetic anomalies, unknown natural phenomena, even suggestions of something watching from beyond the horizon. None of these ideas were proven. None were fully disproven. As decades passed, Lake Anjikuni became less a place and more a question. Historians attempted to reconstruct events using fragmented records. Journalists revisited the story, each adding or removing details. Some labeled it a hoax. Others called it an exaggerated truth. But no version ever fully replaced the original unease. What remains undeniable is this. A story entered public record, and it never left. In the United States, the case became part of a larger fascination with unexplained disappearances. Stories where people vanish without witnesses, without clear motives, without conclusions. It joined a category of mysteries that resist clean endings, not because of violence, but because of absence. Lake Anjikuni does not offer evidence you can hold. It offers silence. And silence is difficult to investigate. Today, satellite imagery shows nothing unusual. The ice freezes and melts as it always has. No marker announces what may or may not have happened. And perhaps that is why the case endures. Because whether the story was misunderstood, exaggerated, or quietly accurate, it represents something deeper. The discomfort humans feel when certainty disappears. When a place that should contain life contains only questions. In the end, Lake Anjikuni is not just about a missing village. It is about how stories survive in the gaps between fact and memory, how isolation amplifies fear, and how the wilderness, vast and indifferent, keeps its own records, ones we may never be able to read. And somewhere beyond the last road and the last signal, the lake remains, frozen, still, and unwilling to explain itself.